Hello, my name is Romina Pablo, and
My name is Aisha Sahel.
My name is Yusuf Ahmed. My name is John Gikano.
My name is Hans Munoz.
and today we'll be presenting our topic of today, which is Anonymous in the Russio-Ukrainian War in the 21st century. Moving on to our table of contents, first we have 6 parts, we're going to be starting with our introduction. Second, our core concepts. Third, our case study. Fourth, our challenges. Fifth, our mitigation and response steps. Sixth, and finally, our conclusion. Moving on to our introduction. So before we start, you have to understand where the war started, in which the war started in 2014, escalating in February 2022. Yes, but it also introduced the concept of hybrid warfare. Now, what is hybrid warfare? Hybrid warfare, according to our sources here, is where military tactics are interwove with the use of cyber warfare, spreading of misinformation, and involvement of non-state organizations are the type of examples that we have. Now, one thing about non-state organizations is the anonymous group. Now, the anonymous group is a non-state actor. What is it exactly? According to our sources, it is an international decentralized activist group which has no clear leader. And thus, it is very hard to gauge what they're doing, where they are, and what their platforms are. But before we dive into Anonymous, we have to understand the different types of cyber warfare. So in this slide, we have 3 examples of the types of cyber warfare, in which we have the information warfare. Next, please. Our cyber sabotages and disruptions. And third, our cyber espionages. Now keep in mind, these are just the 3 most prominent things that are going to be in our topic of today. Now first is our information warfare. What is it exactly? According to our sources, it is a type of cyber warfare that spreads information or counters propaganda via online platforms. Now, our cyber sabotages or disruptions is a cyber warfare which attempts to damage critical systems such as website infrastructures. So what this aims is basically to damage the infrastructure, in which essentially damages may be perhaps government websites, and as such enabling them not to have any type of communication and whatnot. Our third example is cyber espionage. What is this? According to our sources, it is a type of cyber warfare which has the objective of stealing confidential data through hacking. Now we'll be going to the core concepts of our topic. Gerald will continue our topic.
Thank you, Ram, for handing it over to me. Now let's talk about the core concepts. First, we have hacktivism. Now, what is hacktivism? Hacktivism is a form of online activism that uses hacking for political or social causes. One of the most notable causes for a hacktivism group is when they are brought together by a common ideology or a common cause. This can vary between region, religion, or personal causes. The origin of hacktivism came from a hacker group called Cult of the Dead Cow. They were known for doing a blend of gaming, hacking, and activism. Now let's go to cyber operations in modern warfare. With the growing dependence of the digital infrastructure to conduct military command, made cyber operations a major part of modern warfare, creating new vulnerabilities and strategic operations. Now let's move on to the next slide, where we talk about the cyber operations that Anonymous used in the war. We have denial and disruption of service, where in February 2022, they declared a war, a hacking war against Russia, where they targeted major state and streaming services to disrupt. We have media and streaming service intrusions, where they hack TV channels to air pro-Ukraine content. We have data leaking and defacing websites. They leaked over 200 gigabytes of emails from a Belarusian gun manufacturer that supports Russia. Now we have information and propaganda warfare. Anonymous used hack devices to send information to the Russian citizens of what happened in the war, where they did some censored stuff, but now they sent them the uncensored version of the war. Now, let's move on to the core concept. Case study.
Okay, thank you, Gerald, for telling us about the core concept of our presentation. Now we will be going through 3 of these case studies in order to understand our topic in a deeper level. So, the very first case study is called the TV News Hack. Now, this happened in early March 2022, where the anonymous group hacked the Russian media outlets, including TV channels and radio broadcasts. Now, like I mentioned, this happened in early March 2022, where the main actions that were carried out by them were, number one, they interrupted the Russian TV channels and radio stations. So during this time, they were displaying anti-war messages, and they were also showing footage from the Ukraine. And people could see, the citizens of Russia, they could see messages like the hour of reckoning has become, stop the war. Basically, they were in support of Ukraine. Now, how did this impact the Russia? This had a huge impact on Russian government because it wasn't just a simple hack. It was a digital protest that was aimed directly at the Russian citizens, exposing to them the truth that their government was trying their best to hide. Now let's move on to the second slide. The second case study is called the digital blockade, which is basically about DDoS. So before we get to know what the anonymous did, let's first understand what a DDoS attack is. So, a distributed denial of service attack is basically when hackers, they flood websites with so much traffic that they become unavailable or they slow down. This is exactly what the anonymous did. They targeted websites like government websites, giant business companies, their websites in Russia, and also state media. Now, this had a huge impact on Russia because not only did it cause embarrassment to their government, but also hampered their day-to-day activities. So the financial services of banks were interrupted and government services were also interrupted during this time. Next slide, please. Now, the very last case study, but the most prominent one, is the censor's secret. Now, in this incident, which took place in March 2022, Russia's authority, which is responsible for censorship and media control, was hacked, which led to the leakage of 820 gigabytes of internal data, which included emails, personal information, and operational details. Basically, these details were about the censorship. Now, this was a huge thing because it exposed the Russian censorship, which caused embarrassment to the government, and it gave us the world information about how censorship happens in Russia. Next slide. So all the previous mentioned case studies, they're against the CIA tribe. Now, the CIA tribe, which consists of confidentiality, then we have integrity, and we have availability. So first of all, for confidentiality, we have stealing secrets. Now, previously mentioned, the breached data and the leaked private government, basically the breach of corporate data is an example of this. Then we have integrity, where they hack the media channels. So this comes under the second part, which was destroying the trust. Then we have availability, where they denied the access to important websites using the DDoS attack.
Thank you, Aisha. I'll be taking it from here. Now we're going to be talking about challenges and limitations. Our first challenge is going to be verification issues. Now, it's outright impossible to confirm if these attacks even come from anonymous, due to hackers using these tools to spoof their locations, IP addresses, and also using encryption to hide their data and personal information. Our next challenges is misinformation. Though they do often claim to fight for the freedom and the truth, mostly in the digital side, these informations can be easily deepfaked or made by AI to fake these images and videos. Our third challenge is going to be cybersecurity implications. Now, while supporting Ukraine is necessary, it can lead to worldwide conflicts, usually creating new hacking cyberwares or creating more conflict in the Ukrainian zone. Our last and final challenges and limitations is legal issues. Though it is for a good cause, it's usually illegal, with unauthorized access, data theft, and denial of service attacks, which is, I think, DDoS. In the core of the cybercrime, which could result in a serious liability. Thank you.
Now taking over, while understanding the necessary cyber security info is essential, understanding the mitigation steps is also important to combat the hackers. Now, we have 4 mitigation steps, and the first one is upgrading the infrastructures or adopting zero trust security systems. Many outdated systems are still being used to this day, and these systems can create many gaps that hackers can take advantage of. They can launch cyber attacks whenever they want. And adopting the zero trust security system can make sure that every user is authenticated and connected, making sure that the system is overall really protected. Now, the second mitigation step is strengthening the cybersecurity leadership. Empowering roles such as the CIO or Chief Information Officer and CISO, the Chief Information Security Officer, is vital. And next slide, please. The third slide is securing the necessary assets and critical data. In any cases of cyber attacks, making sure that the necessary assets and the critical data is safe is a top priority. And governments or states must implement protective measures such as technical operation systems, backup systems, supply systems, and other digital assets is required. Now, the last step is forming an incident response and recovery plan. Now, even with protective measures, cyber attacks can still occur. So, making a plan that can mitigate, identify, contain, and recover is very essential. And making a plan that can do all of those things is basically required for any system. Now, preparation, in cybersecurity, preparation is protection, and making sure that a well-protected system can make or break what happens in a cyber attack situation. Hello? So in conclusion, Anonymous has showed us that modern wars are also fought on digital fronts. Their actions remind us how important strong cybersecurity is to keep a country safe, protect its people from digital threats. So from our case studies to our core concepts to our mitigation steps, we have explained all of the core concepts of our topic. And this is our topic for today. This is our references. Thank you.
Oh.
Okay. How does hacktivism differ from cybercrime?
Hacktivism is when, like, it's a form of activism, right? But cybercrime is
It's just
It's
invented.
unauthorized access,
Yes.
with data thefts.
In some, yeah.
Usually, activism is usually in groups or
Or you can say that hacktivism is more with a good intention because they're doing it to support a social and a political cause. Where cyber crimes is more about with they have a bad intention and they want to harm the other party.
But it's more complicated
It's
because,
more complicated.
yes, you can consider it as a group, but the reality is it can also be anonymous people. They could be working as a group, but they could be in different separate
Hacktivists,
factions.
the hacktivists, they also are performing cyber crimes, but the main difference is the fact that they are doing it for a social cause.
Yeah, hacktivism groups have like a common ideology where like they believe into
Yes.
something and they go with that. They do stuff like they do hacktivism for that
And we're just the
specific
best example
yeah, for their belief.
for anonymous.
Yes.
Okay. Do you think hacktivism can have political or ethical impacts?
They can, yes, they can have political impacts, but they're more in politics
Like,
more than
for
ethics.
example, the anonymous group, right? They're on the Ukraine side, so they're in support of Ukraine. So that is political. They're showing that they're on one side, and they're revealing that to the world. They're showing their support and they're exposing the Russian state so that they can help the Ukraine. As for the ethical implication, it's we have seen this in the previous challenges part that this could lead to legal issues. Why is that? Because this is unethical. because these hacktivist groups, they are doing cyber crimes. So this will have ethical issues in the future.
But we have to understand we're not focusing on the political views. We're rather focusing on the cyber attacks, the cyber warfare,
And what
what's
the state
happening,
can do.
cyber espionages, and the types of things that they're doing to help Ukraine. And so, yeah,
So this is political.
it is political.
Alright, thank you.
Thank you, Miss.